Hello, and welcome to the Top Floor, the podcast where Charlotte area CEOs get to tell their leadership journey. My name is Jeff Cass. I'm an executive coach and the leader of a peer advisory group for CEOs and business leaders here in Charlotte, and I'll be your host today. Happy to have an international guest with us today, Venkat Borusu from UBC BIM Services with us. Venkat, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, international. So you and I were just talking. You are in India today, so it's evening for you, and you've already worked a full day today, right?
Yep. It's 8 p.m. as we speak right now in India. I'm in a beach city in the eastern coastal India, southern part of India. It's called Vizag. It's a beach city. It's a port city, which is where we have another business of ours, and I'm actually sitting in that office. And it's truly a global, meeting today. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you told me before that you're in 12 countries, and I want to get into all that. But tell us first the acronym UBC and BIM. What does that mean?
Yeah, UBC stands for Unique Building Concepts. I'm basically a mechanical engineer. Did my MBA and then worked for Corning Incorporated in the US for about 10 years, and then moved back to India in 2010 and started my own business. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and came back to India, started my construction business. And after about 10 years in the construction business, then being a technology person, I wanted to move into the technology side of construction. And that's how the inception for UBC, Unique Building Concepts, came into the picture to bring technology into our existing construction business. And eventually it spun off into a division of its own. And now we're doing services for clients across the globe, United States, all the way up to Australia, New Zealand, in between Europe, Israel, Middle East, almost 12 to 13 countries, about 80 people that are supporting 3 different shifts, and that's the team. But Unique Building Concepts, UBC BIM. BIM means Building Information Modeling.
Okay.
So we see a tremendous amount of technology adoption that is actually happening within the construction industry. And generally, construction industry is the last one to actually adopt technology. I mean, you see technology into banking, you see technology into other industries like insurance sector, healthcare, so many other sectors. But construction industry is the one that actually most of the people that are working in construction industry are not very tech savvy. So it's actually it's taken a long time for the construction industry to start adopting some of the latest and greatest of the technologies, which is simulation. You construct on the computer to understand what are the challenges before you even go into the construction site. That's all driven by the fact that there is the cost of labor is actually increasing, and availability of labor is also increasing. And on top of it, the global population is growing at a rapid pace, where there's millions and millions of units requirement at this point in time, where majority of the population of the world is below 30 to 40 years of age, where they need a lot of housing, a lot of commercial spaces. And the construction industry is forced to adopt technology, and that's basically why we exist, is to provide technology solutions for the construction companies to be able to easily adopt that technology, so that they don't have to worry about technology part of it. We actually help the companies take care of the technology side of it, so that they can still focus on their core side of the activity. Companies.
Okay, boy, you had a lot there. So let me just pick a couple things that we can talk about further. So first, you started 2010. You were building what? You were building single family homes and small structures in India. Is that how it started?
Yeah, we started off with building integrated townships, because at that time this urbanization was happening, and there was a need for in the suburban areas to build integrated townships, which will have housing, school, hospital, everything in one place.
Okay.
So we started off with building apartment complexes, single family homes with with a strip mall kind of a setup where they would have multiple facilities and a primary school, all of that in one place. And we actually focused on small towns and tier one, tier two towns rather than the mega cities or the metropolitan cities, where that kind of requirement was pretty high when I moved back to India in 2010. And
Okay. So do you still operate the construction business, or have you completely gone to modeling and construction technology?
No, we still operate our construction business, but I mean that's what actually driven us to how do we bring technology into our own construction business? We tried it, tested it, we built the models there, and then we said, okay, let's it works, so let's move on to providing this as a service to outside companies.
Okay, so you were your best first clients, I take it. Is that right?
Yep, definitely.
Okay, okay.
That's the best way to be the guinea pig of your own theories, right? Rather than
I
trying
see.
with someone else. Because
Yeah.
we already had a business running and we didn't need any external client, and we needed to automate some of our processes, and then we built a team, and then that team actually branched off into providing services to other outside folks.
Okay. So the building technology and the modeling is really what became international, right? So help us understand the start, of this when you were your own client in India to how you kind of moved to different parts of the world and then got to Charlotte, because that's what I'm most interested about.
Yeah. And basically, in 2017, around that time, when the construction business was really booming for us, and we were struggling for labor resources and some technology resources, like structural engineers and people who can actually, plan our projects, like
Hmm.
project management teams and supervising team. I mean, we were struggling to, hire a lot of folks. And in India, the uh, the construction is done with brick and cement mortar for the walls, and
Hmm.
then the structure is done with concrete columns and beams and slabs for the roof
Okay.
and the fueling system. So it was very laborious. So I started, exploring how do I, bring some automation into this whole process. Can I use plaster spraying machines, the wall, plastering machines, different things that I was doing some research, and can I even replace the walls with, with some lightweight systems rather than having this heavyweight bricks, which were
Hmm.
actually, taking quite a bit of a toll on the overall structure itself. We were investing quite heavily on, making sure that the structure can carry this heavyweight, bricks, which are made with clay.
Hmm.
So that led me to, different countries, like went to China, went to so many different places where there is new technology innovation that's happening. Went to Italy, did a lot of research, and finally landed with this light gauge steel framing. That's what seemed like which would solve most of our challenges, which was, it was not labor intensive.
Hmm.
We didn't need heavy equipment to move the materials, but two or
Hmm.
three people would just lift it themselves and then install them. And then it was pretty fairly easy. It was almost like Lego blocks. You could actually use screws and drill bits to assemble them, just like
Hmm.
you order a table for your home and you assemble it. Similar to that, you can assemble the entire wall and install it. So it was taking care of most of my checklist of issues that I had at that point in time.
Hmm.
So landed with light gauge steel, and then that one, the machinery at that point in time, the pioneers are in New Zealand. Most of the companies that are in New Zealand, like FrameCAD, Howick, and Scottsdale, these are all the big companies that were making these machines that would produce these light gauge steel framing systems. And
Okay.
I went to New Zealand, got Howick machine to India, set up the factory in India, thinking that I would replace our construction, models. And then basically we had this machine, and then we didn't realize that there is a lot more to it rather than just getting a machine. That was the easiest part. Then the real journey started in 2018, June, we actually placed the order. And then by the time it came, it was like 2019, March or something like that, around that time. And then by the time we got the machine, we realized that, the feeding a CNC machine file to this particular machine is the most difficult thing rather than getting a machine.
Okay.
Then, our journey started. So we started talking to who would, provide this software. And then Howick pointed us to a company in Finland, Vertex Systems. And they actually said, okay, this is the technology. You need to train these many number of people. This much amount of investment needs to go into it. So we needed to put about 4 people and then train them. And it took about 6 months for us to train those people. And then even then, we were not having 100% knowledge, constructability knowledge, like on-site knowledge. So we had to, again, go tap into some seniors in the industry who were already doing it, go back to the New Zealand folks and Finland folks. And then we learned it the hard way for about a year, and then started doing within India. And as we were talking, the team in New Zealand and Vertex team in Finland approached us saying that, hey, you seem to understand how this whole thing works. Maybe because I come from a technology background and then I understand this whole offshore service models, this global service models, because that was my background back when I worked for Corning Incorporated, where I was traveling to Taiwan and other countries, and we had the IT offshore services team sitting in India, so we were already working with a global team. They asked us, can you provide services to our clients? Then the light bulb was on, like, oh, okay. We didn't realize that there is this big market that is out there, that people are buying these machines and they, invest almost like $200,000 to $300,000 of capital investment on 2 or 3 people, training them and, getting them the knowledge, and then trying to figure out all the time, trying to retain these resources, because they are the most critical people to produce this building information model, a 3D BIM model that can actually feed into this CNC machine. They said, if you can provide an incremental cost to them, the client would really love it. And then, we saw a new business opportunity in that, and then we started off onto it. And that's how we ended up really launching into this global services. We started with about 4 people in 2019, June. And then throughout the COVID period, we were like franking numbers big time because everybody needed the services. That was a great time for us. Timing was perfect. And we're today about 80 people serving about 12 different countries, and over 1 million square feet of building information modeling we've done over the last 4 years.
Wow. Okay. So let me tie this together a little bit, because you've heard of the term stick-built home, right? Where basically the folks that are on site are cutting every piece of wood and, putting it up themselves. And that's a very skilled job. Not having those folks, what you're doing is you're automating that, right? Where you're either taking the metal product, that you're using to, construct the house, or wood, but you're modeling it, feeding it to a CNC machine, and you get a somewhat prefabbed, kind of material that shows up on site. Is that a good summary for kind of what you're describing?
Yeah. I mean, if you try to draw a parallel to it, like a stick frame house. Basically, you have walls, you have studs, you have joists, you have roof, trusses, everything is there. So we actually model the entire thing, and we do a simulation. We even do the simulation of HVAC systems and mechanicals, electricals, plumbing. All of those lines are incorporated into it. We run the entire model, and we basically solve it to make sure that there is no challenges once they reach the site. And all the holes are pre-punched, how the lines are going to run, and then we feed the file into the machine, and a machine actually takes a steel coil and it bends, cuts everything. It actually does a lot of punches, almost 15 different punches. Most of these machines have, which will have different kinds of cuts, and they cut everything, and they actually produce each wall as a package. Each truss has a package, and then and then we supply them with shop drawings and assembly drawings. So just like assembling a table that you order from one of the furniture stores, you use that drawing, and then you just assemble the wall, and you put the trusses together, and then you put the whole house together, basically. So I mean, about 4 to 5 people can build a house, within like 10 to 15 hours, a single family home with this entire process. Once the material reaches the site. And now there's more evolution. I think we can talk about it a little later as we go through the conversation. But I want to come back to that one point which you asked, how did you end up in Charlotte, right? That's the most important thing for this particular podcast, because this is targeting most of the folks around Charlotte area. As we were doing this service, we actually started serving clients in the U.S. And I've worked in the U.S. for about 12 years, and I had lots of experience and connections in the U.S. And I always had this intention to get back to the U.S. To set up an office. And as we were talking to most of the clients, having an office in India versus having a headquartered office in the U.S., the whole brand image was actually completely changing. So then, I said, okay, let me set up the office in the U.S. so that when the company is presented as a U.S.-based entity, it is actually received in a different way with a lot more credibility, a lot more, the contracts are valued much better. And in terms of the price negotiation, people actually don't negotiate much. If you actually come from the U.S. For the rest of the world, kudos to the entire U.S. the way the structure is set up. So so the decision was made to come to the U.S. to establish our headquarters there. But we had one of our biggest clients in Charlotte, and they were offering us, graciously, the space and the systems to be able to get moving there. So we ended up in Charlotte. And we've been working with them for the last 3 years, and we've got now like almost 3 big clients in Charlotte and the rest of the U.S. And Texas is one of our biggest client base, where we have a lot of our clients, and then Utah, and we have clients in Arizona, we have clients in California. So we're spread across the U.S., but we're based out of Charlotte now.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. So are you primarily working with folks that are doing single family homes, or is it other buildings here in the US right now?
No, the light gauge steel or wood framing, wherever it is used, we serve all those markets. We serve single family homes, multifamily, townhomes, hotels, and we do strip malls. So basically this technology is suitable for low to mid-rise structures, which are not like high-rise structures. But for high-rise structures, we only do the walls. Like, for example, a 13-story, 15-story kind of a building, like a hotel project, we supply walls. We design the walls, and then we design the plumbing and electricals and mechanical building information modeling.
I see. Now, since you started in 2017, it feels like you've learned a lot about that building technology and what services you're offering, right? So now when you arrived in the United States, you're fairly well established, is what it sounds like. Is that a true statement?
Yeah. I mean, since 2019, we've been serving clients in the US, so we understand, because every country, every county, as a matter of fact, has their own building codes. So that takes a lot of time and effort to learn. I mean, thanks to so many softwares that actually have those built in today, but still you need to have, constructability knowledge, because every area, the install crews are used to doing certain things in a certain way. And some clients, they prefer certain things in a certain way. And then on top of it, you put another layer, engineers. Engineer on record prefers it to be done in a certain way. And then another layer, architects, they have a certain way of doing things. So you have to bring everything together in a way that everybody is happy. At the same time, you make sure that you do it in a standardized way, because you lose the purpose if you don't standardize it. Modularization is about, as much as you can standardize and use the standard things, you actually minimize the requirement for the labor and then the skill that is needed. you can actually get it done with a semi-skilled person. If you try to customize it again, you're actually going back to the older ways of doing it. So there's a right balance that you have to strike. So in our team, we have folks that understand the Australian code and New Zealand code. There is a team that understands the European code, UK, that side of it. And then we have a team that understands the ASI code, which is specifically for the American code. And every state has their own guidelines. For example, California, because of the heavy earthquake zones like San Diego and all, actually have quite a bit of stringent norms there. Florida has a lot more wind-related norms that we have to consider when we are designing buildings for different states. But most of the time, we actually work with the engineers on records from different states, and then we take the inputs and we detail them to produce the files for the machines.
Okay, I see. So maybe for the listeners, if you could, I mean, thinking more about the Charlotte area where we know we have a lot of houses that need to be built, where we know that we have a labor issue in that particular area, what kind of efficiency do you provide for the companies that you're working with?
I mean, we, as I said, building information modeling is something that actually simulates the construction and highlights the areas that they need to be worried about even before they reach the construction site. So we actually work with a lot of project managers to plan these things in such a way that they can efficiently build projects. That's one way we help. The second way we are helping is these factories that are actually building modular homes, where they actually finish everything in the factory and then take it to the construction site and then just assemble them on site by breaking apart a project into multiple modules. That's one of the biggest trends that's going on at this point in time. We also help folks build bathroom pods where they finish the entire toilet in a factory and then just forklift it and take it to the site and then just slide it into the place and then just connect the outlets and the inlets rather than having to finish it on site. So, various different ways we help. We help people who are still doing it traditional way by helping them plan it better, giving them shop drawings, assembly drawings, and all of that. People who are moving into modular construction factories, we help them, breaking it into modules, and then take them to the sites. Then we also help like hotels and different projects where they're doing bathroom pods and other things that can be finished in the factory and then take them to the site. And we also help a few companies that actually do ADUs, tiny homes, accessory dwelling units is what they call, especially for the affordable housing market, and where they can actually build these ADUs in the factory itself and then take them to the site and just install it. That's one of the big pushes that's happening. Even the government of the United States is pushing in every state to build as many ADUs. I mean, there's Charlotte, Mecklenburg County actually brought a new regulation last July, a new building code just for ADUs actually. So that's going to be a big thing that's going to happen in that area. So we help almost all of those folks in planning and executing those things on a computer itself, so that they don't have to waste their resources and they'll be more efficient. Instead of building 10 units per month, they can build probably 20 units because they're much more efficient.
Okay. So do you have like a typical amount of man hours or labor savings that you have by going down this modeling path? You have some case studies about that?
Yeah. I mean, we generally come. I mean, if you take a look at the per square feet savings, we've been always impacting at least $3 to $4 per square feet in terms of the construction cost. If you look at the overall in a traditional stick-built way of construction versus using this building information modeling and planning and all these resources, it'll save you in terms of insurance costs, debris cleaning, because we plan much better so that you don't have to have so much debris on site. And there is general insurance, there is less labor requirement. All of that actually translates to generally, $4 to $5 a square feet in terms of construction cost.
Okay.
Man hours, it's one way of measuring it, but ultimately it's the dollars that actually that matter to the folks. I mean, as I said, we could build a frame in 7 to 12 hours, basically, generally, which takes about 4 to 5 days to frame the whole house for a single house. Everybody's the wall panels and all the trusses are pre-assembled in the factory and then transported. Less than 12 hours, you can actually have a house standing. Basically, you can ready for the interior finishes.
Yeah, and where we're short so many houses, I would think that time savings is a huge motivator. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we have a good sense of kind of how you got here, which is a very interesting story, Venkat. I mean, it's we've talked about it here now for 30 minutes, but boy, you put in 7, 8, 10 years into this, so I can imagine the journey you've been on. But let's shift gears here a little bit. Talk a little bit, if you would, about some of the biggest challenges you have in your business today.
One of the biggest challenges that we have today is, I mean, I would categorize that into two different segments. One is the internal to the organization. The other challenges are the external to the organization in terms of the external factors. If you have to look at the internal to the organization challenges, it's the technology. Whenever there is technology involved, it's the hiring the right resources, making sure that they're trained well, and then you actually motivate them enough, to continue to work with us, because obviously there is competition. That's out there. It's actually scouting for companies who are training these, who are basically like breeding grounds, right? For the technology folks, so that they can actually take a guy who's already or a person who is ready to work rather than having to train. And when we are working with codes of 12 different countries and training all these folks, we are a big resource for a lot of small and upcoming companies or other companies that want to hire resources. So it's a huge challenge for us internally to hire the right mix of people who are freshers that are continuously coming in, keep on training them, and then because you're going to definitely have a turnover of some employees, because you're not going to keep everybody happy, but giving them exciting work is what keeps them motivated more than just the monetary benefits and other things. And sometimes we do a lot of different things to make sure that the employees are motivated and then stay with us. But the strategy that we have on balancing this entire internal skill matrix, and then there is new technologies that keep coming in. Then we have to train the resources, and most of these technologies are very expensive too. I mean, one license sometimes costs $15,000 to $20,000 for one seat. So it's very expensive to make sure that we get those licenses, and then we keep on training folks, because there's so many new companies that are coming up trying to build machines that can better the other machines that are there in the market, and then training for those machines. So it's just basically, there's no one standard yet. It's still evolving. So you're still on that, in the thick of this whole technology evolution adoption into the construction industry. So that's one of the biggest challenges internal to us. And then moving on to the external factors, any new technology, there is resistance. People are not comfortable trying that, especially in construction industry. And then, as I said, there's so many new players that are coming into the market. So trying to make sure that you stay up to date with that, and then trying to convince customers who want to why would they want to stick with wood frame? Why can't they move to a steel frame house? So those are some of our biggest challenges in the external as the external factors. And you're dealing with most of the time, these contractors, general contractors or fabricators who are used to doing with steel, with wood, then want to move to steel, and then they don't have the knowledge. So we are trying to give them the knowledge, and you're trying to educate them. At the same time, you want them to try this new ways of doing by showing the savings. But fortunately, we have there are industry associations that we actually participate and try to educate folks on trying this new technology. adoption. And this is how I think, and if you look at the statistics, Australia and New Zealand have been at the forefront of it. I mean, they've got about 40% penetration into their housing and mid-rise structures. United States is still below 10% penetration, so there is a huge amount of gap that's there. That's probably going to be a big growth curve that's going to come in the next few years.
Okay. Yeah. In a lot of ways, it sounds like you're revolutionizing kind of what's going on in the construction business, right? So it's hard to be at the forefront of that, I would guess. That's what you're describing.
Yeah, it is definitely. It's hard, and then you're trying to learn yourself and also trying to implement it in the industry. Those are the biggest challenges. I mean, we're just working on a project in the Neom city that's coming up in Saudi Arabia. They're actually trying to do a lot bigger technology adoption, and it's a huge project that we're trying to, an apartment complex which is broken down into like 200 to 300 small modules that need to be finished in a factory. You take them, you stack them up like a Lego blocks, and then finish the building in less than 10 to 15 days. And that's a huge undertaking. So there's one extreme of folks that don't want to try, and there's another extreme of folks that, okay, let's try it. So we're actually in the middle of the entire exercise.
Well, and you're doing that in 12 countries, which has unique requirements in each, which I think is interesting. But let's talk a little bit about the labor, because that's an issue for everyone that's running a business, let's say in North Carolina and Charlotte, and frankly, across the United States, and in many cases across the world. But you have developed a unique solution there in the sense that you have round-the-clock folks, that provide services to each of the different time zones. So maybe just talk about how you got there and what that service is, okay?
Yeah, I mean, see, this business model is actually depending on two most important factors. One is you have to know the knowledge and the know-how and the technology and all of that. And then the second piece is taking it to the client, right? So, you've got the resources that are already trained sitting, with a computer in front of them, sitting in the desk. But if you cannot provide a good service to the client, especially in a technology space, there is a lot of, resistance to it. You want to get over that. How you get over that is with a good customer service. So if you want to be, it's just like the Amazon kind of a model, right? You want to put the customer at the forefront. That's what actually really makes the, differentiates us. And how we've done that is we've actually follow the sun kind of a model. We start with Australia, and we come to the Europe, and then we go on to the United States Eastern time zone, and then we move to the Western time zone, and that actually follows on to the Australia. So we actually divide our teams into multiple time zones, and then there are 3 different shifts, and then folks come in, they work, and then we've actually picked certain softwares that if someone actually is doing, let's say there is a 3-story project that's happening. One person could be working in parallel on the ground floor, and then another person could be working on the first floor detailing, and then another person could be working on the 3rd floor. So first shift guy sits and does the work on the ground floor, and then the second shift person comes, uses the same computer, same license, whatever the infrastructure is there, so that we can share it, and then does it on the 2nd floor. And then so same person is continuing, but all of that comes together towards the end as one project, and then serves the client. So in the fastest way, that can be turned around. So customers actually get surprised when we can actually produce a 3D BIM model, which takes more than 20 to 30 days sometimes to even produce a basic model. We produce it in like less than 10 days, less than 5 days, because we work in 3 different shifts, and then 3 different work in parallel, and then complete the project and then produce it as a unified solution to the client within a very short period of time.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. So all your technology, your people are in India, right? But they're working these 3 shifts, and they also share, some of the projects, so you can get them done much faster in a 24/7. Is it 24/7 or is it 24/5? What is the time frame?
Yeah, I mean, we work 24/7 almost because Israelis, they work on Sundays. They have
Okay.
a Sabbath on Saturday, so their off day is Saturday. So their week
Okay.
starts on Sunday. So we are working on Sunday. And
Okay.
then, in the Middle East, their off day is on Friday. So we have to be available almost every day,
Okay.
365 days, 24. I mean, it's not 24/7, it's almost like 20, 22, 23, 21 hours basically is what we work. We have a
Okay.
gap of 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours in between that somebody is not available. But the rest of the
Wow.
time, the entire team is available. That's what,
Yeah.
it differentiates us from most of my competition that's out there.
Right. I could see that. I could see that. I would think one challenge for you also, you personally, as you're kind of steering the company, is how do you make sure you're not, trying to grow too fast and growing into new markets? Is that a consideration for you as you think about how you grow and where you grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think I need to go back to your initial previous question, which like what's the biggest challenge that you
Hmm.
have out there, right? The most of the projects that we work on are single family homes and multifamily homes, and these projects which are smaller in footprint, they're not like a huge 50 floors or a 100-floor tower in New York City kind of projects.
Hmm.
But the volume is so high. We work on 100 to 200 projects at a given point in time.
Hmm.
That's one of our biggest challenges, and to be able to meet that, that challenge is a fundamental thing, but it's a good thing because we work on so much volume and we have so many resources that are sitting out there. But at the same time, that's a real challenge for us to work on so many different projects, keep a tab on what's happening on all these things. So we've actually divided and designed our team in such a way that we've seen over the period of last 4 or 5 years how many team members a particular project manager can handle, how many projects can he handle. So we actually, designed a team that actually suits this delivery model, which is distributed delivery models, but at the same
Hmm.
time, they're also in one centralized location. So we've actually perfected this over a period of 7 years so that I mean, initially I used to work 17, 18 hours, but now it's like, it's come down where we've trained next level leadership. That's one of the fundamental things I've learned as a CEO or a managing director is, to hire the right people, train them, give them enough leverage independence so that they can grow themselves, keep
Hmm.
motivating them so that they don't become the whole organization is not dependent on one person. It's actually the whole organization is working in unison towards delivering this rather than dependency on the CEO or one person.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. I have so many questions around a lot of that, but I have one more question more about the service because I came from an industry where we did automate fabrication and it was more around welding and cutting. And one of the things that a lot of our customers would talk about is the ability to customize, right? And for you, you're not producing the exact same house all the time. I assume they could be very different, but you also could provide maybe a level of customization to some of those designs that builders would want, where they may have the same basic footprint, but there are some small customizations that you could do very quickly. Maybe just talk about that as you kind of have lived this kind of journey on automating more of the building industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are two aspects that we can look at it. In a typical single family home, a customer goes and then picks a lot and then picks a floor plan, but there is a different elevation facade option, there is a garage option, there is a crawl space, there is all these
Hmm.
different options that are out there that a builder is going to offer. So the way we help the builders is of all the options and permutations and combinations that are out there, we actually pre-feed them, and then keep them in the system so
Hmm.
that a customer actually picks, I want this floor plan for this lot, this facade, this roof, this garage option, and all these options, they pick it. And then once they pick it, to produce a permit set that actually suits to that particular customer's choices and to that lot, a lot
Hmm.
specific permit set, generally used to take anywhere between 15 to 20 days for an engineer on record to produce the drawings so that they can be submitted for the city approval. Believe it or not, we do it in less than 48 hours because we have all these models loaded into the system, and we produce a custom, customized lot-specific permit set on the fly, and then give it to the builder so that they can the permit runner can go and get the permit as soon as possible so that they can start the construction. While the permit runner is actually trying to get the permit, we prepare the CNC machine files and get it ready for construction. So our goal is, from the time a customer actually picks everything, within 7 days, we actually give them a production file so that they can start manufacturing if they can actually get the permit within that period of time. Most of the time, they can't get it that fast. But you hear so many customers, I've booked a home, but they're not starting the construction until 3 months or 4 months out because their supplies are out or whatever the challenges that are there in the industry. That's one of the things that we try to help in terms of customizing for especially for production builders by picking the different options. And also on top of it, the second dimension to this is there are builders who actually build custom homes. They're not, already predefined plans. For those custom home builders, we actually help quite a few custom home builders in Arizona and Paradise Valley. They build these big, large 50,000 square feet, 25,000 square feet custom homes, which have a basketball court inside the house. That kind of, mansions. And there is a lot of requirements that are there. So we actually stand by and we take all the inputs and also provide the value engineering, which work. Let's say a client in New York tried something new as an innovative thing, and that really worked. And then there's NDAs that we can't share exactly what they've done there, but we can actually share the knowledge. That's what we bring to the table while working with hundreds of clients in 12 different countries. Every engineer is so unique. They actually bring a lot of knowledge, and we learn from that. And we suggest to the clients when they say, hey, I want to build something like this. There is a new client that just recently asked, I've got this building. I want to build all the walls with steel, but this particular span, I can't build it with steel. Can I use, wood for the trusses? So we actually suggested, based on another client's learnings, hey, if you use wood here, these are the challenges that you're going to run into. So you're better off doing it this way versus what you're thinking about. So that's what we bring to the table, all the knowledge that we gain from working with so many different clients. And that's what is going to be so unique about us, because if, let's say, a contractor or a factory has 2 or 3 resources, they will never be able to get the knowledge that we are getting from all these clients working on so many different projects. So even though they can hire 2 or 3 resources, train them as much as possible, but they will not be as good as the resources that are getting this knowledge from so many different, working on so many different projects. And, one of our resources could just hop onto another desk and say, hey, this client is having this challenge. Have you worked on something like this? He might have probably run into something like this, or they could just search our database of all the, typical challenges that we keep track of, and then learn from a previous project and then apply it.
Okay, that's interesting. Venkat, your business is very interesting. We could probably spend 3 hours talking about all of these things, but I want to spend a little bit of time on you personally, okay? Because your journey here. So you talked about working as much as 17 or 18 hours a day. And, one of the challenges I think with people that are running a business, starting a business, growing a business is, how do you manage that work-life balance? So maybe just talk about how you've learned to deal with that over time.
Yeah, I mean, work-life balance definitely is a very important thing. You have to have your own time, your family time. You don't want to miss, because in the prime time of your life, and then at the same time you have the right energy to become an entrepreneur. I mean, the right age. Somebody told me very early on was, if you want to really become an entrepreneur, the best age is going to be between 30 and 35. Because you've worked for someone for about 10 years, you've got enough knowledge, you still have a lot of energy and risk-taking ability to jump into it and then try it. but that's the
Mm-hmm.
time when your kids are very young and they're growing and they need you at home, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as a very young first generation entrepreneur, I've always made a fundamental decision that 6 o'clock, whatever I have on my plate, I actually shut everything down between 6 and 10 o'clock in the night. I actually give the time to the family, and then get back to work from 10 on till however long I can stretch myself. So I made sure that there are certain slots that I've kept for my family, and then in the morning, best time to work. At the same time, I've actually said, from 5:30 until 8:30, I play tennis, go to gym. I make sure that I have time, keep myself up, and those are the two slots that nothing can actually come in the middle of those things. Whatever that's out there, especially if I'm traveling, sometimes there's a few things here and there I do it. I mean, if like right now, for example, I'm actually in one of our project locations. I don't have family, so I can spend this time. But if I'm at home, I generally don't schedule anything during this time so that I can spend the time. So I have for my own self, I've created the morning times, and for the family, the evening times, so that and then you're more productive because you're happy, and you're even though you work only let's say 8 to 12 hours, those 8 hours are really going to be productive because you've given the time to the necessary things that are out there. You made sure that you keep yourself healthy so that you can sustain and work harder, because that's when as you're growing your business, you need to put a lot of time to it. And also you give enough time to your family so that they're not missing, and then you're not creating a situation where you've come this far, but you missed out on your kids growing up and your family and your wife and the entire setup.
Yeah, it's interesting when I say work-life balance, because I talk to an awful lot of business leaders and CEOs, and the family is the first thing that comes to mind. But you've not only kind of created time for the family, but for yourself. So physically, you're active, because I think a lot of folks would say that's the first thing that gets put away. That's the first thing you lose.
Yeah.
But you make a good point. If you aren't physically able, if you're not mentally able, then you can't really kind of put 10 or 12 hours into the business or your family.
Yeah. I mean, you basically you're not going to be that productive. You're going to be, your attention span is going to start losing as your day, progresses. And especially if I want to, start again, work from 10 o'clock in the night till like 12 o'clock or whenever, I want to catch up on certain stuff. That time you're basically going to be so tired, and you'll say, I'm not going to, that extra 2 hours that you give to the business is what is going to make you, that different from other competition. It's just like a, running race or whatever, a sport, whatever you take. Somebody puts that extra hour or 2 hours into it, they're the ones that are going to be the winners. And because I give that 2 hours in the morning, which is for myself for staying physically fit, and then obviously eat healthy, and ensure that you're taking care of yourself so that your energy level sustains yourself. Because I play tennis, I watch a lot of these folks that play 4 to 5 hours singles matches, and then how are they able to do it? What kind of a regime they have, right? They have to have a very rigorous regime so that they can actually sustain that on a daily basis.
Yes, it's hard, right? Yes, from an athletic point of view, I agree with you. And it's no different from a work point of view. You have to prepare yourself for that same kind of endurance race, so to speak. Now, you had said to
Yeah.
me earlier that when you came to Charlotte, I think your family may have come to Charlotte. So do you have a home here in Charlotte? Do you consider Charlotte your home now?
Yeah. I mean, I have a home in Charlotte, and my younger daughter goes to school in Fort Mill, South Carolina, Fort Mill High School. She's in 10th grade there, and my wife and daughter stay there. So I'm actually going back and forth between India office and the U.S. office, and then attend the exhibitions and shows in different countries, and then keep traveling. And my two elder children, my son, he's already finished undergraduation, and then he's actually pursuing a career in films. And my daughter is studying in Indiana University, Bloomington campus, environmental law and public policy.
Oh, okay. So your three children are here in the States and your wife is here in the States, and you travel a lot then, I take it, between, many
Yeah,
offices.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So tell me, what do you enjoy most about your job?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think it actually changed over a period of time. But right
Mhm.
at the moment, I enjoy mentoring youngsters who are joining the organization, grooming them to be the next level leadership, and then imparting them with the skills that are really required to be successful as individuals, as well as within their own job profession, whatever they're doing. So that's what I truly enjoy today: building teams, training them, skilling them, and mentoring them. You know, basically what I missed out at the age of 25 to 35 and then 40s, what I should have probably done versus what I've done. Some learnings that what I kept as priorities at that time versus what I
Mm,
should have probably done. That's what
okay.
I really enjoy today. I mean, obviously, business and growth and those things give you a lot of happiness, but fundamentally, that's what really truly gives me happiness in terms of coaching the youngsters. Because if you look at India in today's world, the biggest challenge India is facing today is, I'm sure that the rest of the world, even in China and certain other countries, laying flat. They don't want to work. They're not
Mm,
motivated.
mm,
There's all these concepts that are flying around, especially in India. The challenge is not that there is no employment. The youth that is coming out of colleges are unemployable. That's the
ah,
biggest challenge that the country is facing because they are not work ready. They're learning a lot of theory. There's learning a lot of, theoretical knowledge, but they don't know what it takes to, perform a job. What kind of skills, critical thinking skills, or problem solving, communication. How do you deal with stress? How do you prioritize your things? So those are the things that actually give you a productive employee to you so that you don't have to worry about. You can go home
mhm,
and sleep well, that somebody else is taking care of it and I don't have to worry about it. Rather, otherwise, I remember when I was 35 and 40s, I would always come back home and I've given this task to this guy. Is he going to be able to do it or not? If he's not going, and I would always try to continuously micromanage and I'll keep on pinging them saying that, where is it? What's going on? You're,
mhm,
you're
mhm.
actually literally to the point that you're bugging them rather than letting them do their job.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so I want to get that out of the window so that they're skilled. They know, that, hey, this guy can do it. Skill them enough so that they can perform the job. So you can go home and sleep well.
Evolving as a leader. And my sense, Venkat, and just talking to you for a little bit of time before the interview and now is, I would characterize you as a lifelong learner. That solving problems and learning also would be one of the things you probably enjoy most. Now, one of the obvious challenges, you're not from the United States, right? But yet you came here, you went to school here, now you're opening a business here. Talk about maybe some of those things that you learned, as you came from a different culture and, are integrating a business into the culture of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful question, Jeff, man. I'm glad that you asked that because as part of this interview, one of the things that I wanted to do was for the young entrepreneurs that are out there who are coming from different countries to the United States, because it's a big immigration hub and it welcomes people from so many different countries, which is one of the greatest traits of the country, that it gives opportunity for so many different folks. When you come from a different country, different cultural background where you grew up, it's essential for folks to understand and blend into that culture so that
Mhm.
you can be successful there. Early on when I moved to the United States when I was 25, it was completely a cultural shock. All right, you're trying to get used to the new ways of doing things. Like, let's say I want to have a conversation with Jeff about some sports. My
Mhm.
sports background is completely different. We have cricket, we have a bunch of other sports that probably, people don't in the US haven't even heard. So you have to learn the
Mhm.
local things and trying to impose your things from where you come from. I know you
Mhm.
you want to be unique by bringing those cultural values, but you still have to be open to learning the local cultures, local customs, local ways of doing it. And that's one of the ways that that I've been able to really mold myself and then blend myself into the local community so that they don't look at me as an outsider, because there is always that comfort that you have to give to the local community that you belong there rather than you're a foreigner kind of a feeling. So fundamentally, people need to be really, really open to learning the local ways. Sometimes I hear folks coming from different countries and cultures saying that, hey, we don't eat salads, we don't eat this, we don't, it's, yeah, that's great, but you have to at least understand, their food habits, their lifestyles, what kind of things that actually can have a good conversation, with folks, so that you blend yourself into that culture and establish the business there within the local ways of doing things.
Yeah, and even how you speak. I mean, your English is very good. I mean, you wouldn't have any problem carrying on a conversation with somebody in the United States and using, typical slang terms or other things that kind of fit. That seems like part of kind of what you've learned as well.
Yeah, that's something you have to acclimatize yourself to the local ways. I mean, you cannot be a foreigner and then be a successful businessman within a community, right? Because networking is one of the fundamentally important things if you want to be an entrepreneur. If you want to be an employee, you can go work 8 to 5, you come home and then shut your doors and nobody's going to bother you. But you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to talk to the local, legislatures, all the way up to different businessmen, your, contemporaries, your competition, your so many different things that you have to interact with. And you have to acclimatize yourself, because unless you acclimatize yourself to the local ways, sometimes you may not even get the information. That you can actually, like, SBA, for example, you go and talk to some folks, you want to pick them as your mentors. You're not going to get your own, country person or your foreigner to mentor you there. You're going to find someone who's local, and you need to have a conversation with them and become one among them, so that you're welcomed and then given the information and the knowledge that is specific to that local area.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I know we're getting close on time. Are you okay for a few more questions?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So maybe just if you can, I mean, talk a little bit about what you see in the United States for the future of the building industry, maybe over the next 20 years. What would you see happening?
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting question, because I was actually reading an article about 2 or 3 years ago on global population, statistics, where the population is growing, and then the changing certain institutions, like marriage as an institution, and household formations as a statistic. Because historically, at the age of 25, most of the kids would come out of college. They would go out. They would start, working, and then by 27 or below 30, they would get married. They would build a home of their own, and then start a family. And then that's how you actually generate the need for new houses, new commercial complexes, new things that are as structures that are out there as a need. But these two statistics, the world population as per the statistics, by 2050, we're going to plateau. It's going to reach the maximum, and you'll stay there for the next 30 to 40 years, and then it'll start declining. And especially in the United States, it's today the total replacement rate. If there are 2, wife and husband, you have to produce 2 people to replace the 2 of them. It's actually it's about 1.6 or something like that. So there is not enough replacement rate. So you're not even producing that much. So you actually fill them with more outside folks, so that you keep the population at the same rate, and that is going to stop in about 20 years from now. You're not going to grow the population. The deaths and births are almost going to be equal. So the amount of houses that you build by 2050 are probably going to be sufficient for the whole world. You're not going to build no more new house requirements are going to be there, unless someone wants to They may even downsize rather than having the bigger houses. That's one. And then the second thing is the household formations. The people are getting married very late. They're staying more with the parents. And then even if they get married, they're not having children, or they're having children very late. These are the trends that are actually driving the household formation down. And there is actually a statistic that from 2026 onwards itself, the single family homes numbers are going to be are declining in terms of and then more condominiums and more the elderly housing, or people that are going to be above 50 kind of housing, which are going to be having a smaller footprint. Those are the trends that are going to be I think we're going to start seeing over the next 15 to 20 years. So one of the reports that I was reading, real estate investment from 2040 onwards may become a lower on the rankings in terms of investment portfolio for a lot of people, because there won't be too much of a new requirement. Even if you look at the roads, there's autonomous, driverless cars are coming, and then cars are flying. There's a lot more, drones kind of things that are going to come. So infrastructure investment also probably is going to go down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would think if the need for new houses or new buildings is reducing, that will put a lot of pressure on the number of builders we have. And for you personally, with the business, is the efficiency of those folks that are building are going to be the ones that survive potentially. Is that part of your thinking there?
Yeah. I mean, the builders that are going to survive are who are going to adapt to these newer conditions and make sure that they're changing their strategies from building the inventory. Where would you play? Do you want to play in the single family home? Probably, with these statistics, 2030, 2040 onwards, maybe you would do more multifamily and, homes that are going to cater to a different age group, so that you actually evolve yourself along with the population that's growing. I mean, population is still going to grow for the next 20 years, but the dynamics are going to change. People, the way they look at a house is going to change. Especially with all this virtual work. People could be sitting anywhere in the world and then they could be working. So there's no need for this suburban, massive urbanization that happened between 1980s and 1990s, right? People could be working in a remote, Guatemala, and then still be serving the same client. So there is no requirement for that. You're going to be distributing these houses. So rather than a consolidated, concentrated housing developments, you could be providing to distributed housing developments wherever people go. And I've seen one statistic where, kids coming out of college, they're just going to build RVs, and they're going to be, in trailer homes, and they're going to be traveling wherever they want. They'll be working, and then they have a small, tiny single bedroom unit that's a trailer home. They just attach it, and they'll be roaming around. That's another.
Yeah, that's an interesting development. I've heard something like that as well. I think, everything that happened in the pandemic, with the ability to work remote and some of those jobs, that are hybrid, it opens up new ways of living, it's very interesting. I think kind of how that is going to play out over the next
every builder, I think, has to, really understand to the space that they're, specializing in, and how that particular industry is going to get impacted based on these facts and statistics, and adjust themselves. And as a service provider, I think we are, very well positioned, because we can serve any kind of client, and we have to continuously evolve ourselves. But, we're going to be serving different kind of clients, and that's what is going to, hopefully keep us going for a longer period of time.
I see. Okay, good. That's good insight. I appreciate that. So one last question for you, if you would, and you kind of alluded to a few things as you were talking, a little bit about mentors, but maybe you could talk about what kind of advice you'd have for a new entrepreneur, a new founder, somebody that might be taking over a significant leadership position within a company.
I mean, what I've learned over the years is I've always had this drive and zeal to be an entrepreneur. And, being an entrepreneur is not the easiest thing that is out there. So you really have to think hard. You have to jump in at some point in time, but there are, you need to speak to folks that are out there that are really, that have been there, that have been through that, people who actually gone back to becoming employees from being an employer, tried that for some time, what didn't work for them and what worked for folks. This is very important for folks who are trying to make a decision, because fundamentally for me as a rule, when I became an employer, an entrepreneur, for me, the first and foremost important thing was, how do I run payroll every month? That's what I kept as a target. If I can run payroll every month, cash flow is automatically going to come. If I my brain is going to work on how do I generate cash flow so that basically my payroll is going to continuously run, my employees are going to be happy, and the cycle is going to keep, the machine is going to keep running, because they're going to work, and then it creates more revenue, and like that, I can keep going. So that was my fundamentally, I looked at how do I make sure that there is enough, cash flow resources that are kept in the system, so that my payroll is not going to get impacted. And second important thing that I would advise to the folks that are out there that want to become an entrepreneur is, it's going to be lonely, very lonely. Nobody is going to be there, especially when you're going through those, from outside. When you're working for a company, you could always be sitting there saying that, hey, that manager's job, I can do it very easily, or all I do is whatever I do, he's just taking it and then presenting it, and then he's getting the applause, right? A lot of people, think it definitely crosses their mind. I'm doing everything and he's just presenting it. Or what is an entrepreneur doing? Because all these employees are doing it, so he's just enjoying the fruits of it. But people don't see the amount of effort that goes into it. Believe it or not, it's the toughest thing that is out there that you can pick up on your own as a choice to make, to be an entrepreneur. You have to have the grit and the resolve, and have the attitude of hanging on to the last straw. Don't leave. Unless you have that attitude, don't try to get into this entrepreneurship. You have to have that, because you're going to run into challenges. You're going to pick battles that sometimes you may not have to. You don't want to, or you're going to make decisions that are going to be some stupid decisions that you're going to make, that are going to cause a lot of losses or other challenges. But if you're on the right side, hang on to it till the last second, because things are going to turn around at some point. You have to have that grit and resolve too, so that you can really figure out a way to turn things around and then move on with it, rather than giving up, hanging up the boots kind of attitude. And if you don't have that, it's better off stay as an employee, give the best to your family, and make sure that you're very comfortable in a stress-free life. And being an entrepreneur is definitely stressful. Some people can go home and turn everything off and sleep. I can do that. Whatever the challenges that are out there, I leave it at office and I will bring it home, and I have a wonderful conversation as if nothing is happening. And if someone actually peeps into my brain, probably there's so many things that are going on at the same time, but you act as if everything is good. And you go through financial challenges for yourself as well as for your family, and those are going to be the toughest moments. And family is also, when I said lonely, sometimes you are going to be truly lonely. Even your family is going to sit there and look at you, how stupid. Why did you take this decision? You were actually very comfortable there. But you have to live through all those things and make sure that you will come out flying, because if you've gained enough experience and then pick the right business, definitely there's going to be need for it, and you serve it with all your heart and soul, and it will work. But you have to be ready for all the ups and downs.
Yeah, and keep learning and adapting to all those challenges that come your way, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Venkat, boy, I tell you, again, I think we could speak for another 3 hours if we wanted to. I mean, your story and your journey is so interesting, and the business is very interesting. I wish you well, and as you continue to revolutionize the construction business around the world, and I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for the opportunity, and I truly appreciate giving the time. And I think I've been talking quite a bit. I think there's a lot of, you can see the energy that I'm really motivated and then energized by your questions. And I truly appreciate, bringing this on the show.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
wish
no
you all the
doubt. I
best.
mean, I feel the energy from you, as we talk, and I think that's what gives me the energy to continue to talk to you if we had that time. I think, look, I mean, you're a lifelong learner. You're somebody that enjoys this a lot, and that's certainly what kind of has motivated you to continue to build something that's incredible. So, again, thank you
Yep.
very much.
Thank you so much, and best wishes to you and your organization.